Hello and welcome to Coconut Chats, everyone. Today you've got me, Harita, and I'm joined with singer Anand Bhate. He started his musical journey in his childhood, and since then he has continued to present different exponents of Hindustani classical music. He had the privilege of being the disciple of the great classical vocalist Bharat-Ratna Pandit Bhimsen Joshi, doyen of the Kirana gharana, a legend of his time. Anand was a gifted child prodigy from a family that had a background in classical music as well as Marathi drama. Anand's father took him to Chandrashekhar Deshpandefor for systematic training in Marathi Natyasangeet, and as a result, Anand was soon able to sing songs from various Marathi musical plays exactly in the manner and style of Balgandharva himself, and also started to give public performances. He gave his first television performance in 1981 around the age of 10 and became a young star almost overnight. He gave Natya Sangeet performances on All India Radio as well as on Mumbai's Doordarshan and many public performances at various places in Maharashtra. He published his first Natya Sangeet cassette in 1983. He got many opportunities to perform, particularly at the residence of Hirabai Badodekar, another stalwart in the Kirana Gharana. He impressed his audience, which on occasion included stalwarts like Pandit Ravi Shankar, Ustad Allah Rakha, and Ustad Zakir Hussain, among many others. His fame reached the Marathi-speaking diaspora in the USA, and he was invited to perform at the Brihan Maharashtra Mandal Convention in Chicago in 1984, where he captivated the audience. This was a landmark event, and it was as if he came, he saw, and he conquered. He has performed many times at the prestigious Sawai Gandharva Music Festival in Pune. And alongside his musical career, he has a brilliant academic career as well. He completed his Bachelor in Electronics and Masters of Technology in Computer Science from the University of Pune. And at present, he is a technology architect with Zensa Technologies in Pune. He's a dedicated and hard-working professional, both as an engineer and as a musician. His professional work doesn't deter him from pursuing his passion in music. Welcome, Anand. How are you?
Yeah, thank you very much, and I'm good. Thank you for inviting me on Coconut Chat for this podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much for putting aside the time for this interview. I know you're in the middle of a tour at the moment, so you've got performances almost every day. So it's such a pleasure to be able to speak to you for a little while. So you grew up in a family of classical musicians, like I mentioned earlier, and you started training in classical singing before the age of 10. Is it common for children to start this young, especially in India?
It is. I won't say it is very common, but yes, in musical in the families with musical backgrounds, children normally start listening to music at quite an early age, and that's why it happens sometimes, as it happened with me. That right from the childhood, I had good music falling on my ears, and our family was musical in the sense that my great grandfather was a musician. He was a classical singer, as well as a Marathi theater actor. We have musical plays in Marathi theater, which are called Sangeet Natak, which literally means musical plays.
Yeah.
And my great grandfather was an exponent of this theater as well as the classical singer. So throughout the generations, we had music imbibed in our family, and that's why when I could play harmonium in the childhood or sing a little bit, that's when my parents thought that I had some inclination about the music, and we also have the passion for what is called as Natya Sangeet, which is the music from these musical plays that I talked about. So that is the genre is called the Natya Sangeet, and there was a legend called Balgandharva. Uh, in last century, who performed in on Marathi theatre and excelled in Natyasangeet. So we had liking for this kind of music in our family. So my parents. My father first taught me a little bit, and then I went to my first two gurus, who were Pandit Chandrashekhar Deshpande and Pandit Yashwantabua Marathe, where I started learning the Natya Sangeet as well as the Indian classical music. So that's how it started for me. I must be around 7 or 8 years of age when I formally started taking training in the music.
Wow, that's very young, but yeah, what you say is true, because I think, if you start all of this when you're much younger, you learn it a lot quicker as well, and then especially when the natural talent is there. And I personally don't know a lot about Natya Sangeet because I grew up in New Zealand, but my dad actually grew up in Bombay. He's Gujarati, but grew up in Bombay. And he's told me that he used to go watch a lot of these type of plays and theatre because it was very popular in Mumbai when he was growing up in the 60s and 70s.
Oh,
So
that's great.
I know a little bit from what he's told me. So I think from reading about your bio and all of that, it seems like it was your parents' dream for you to become a classical singer. And how did your parents help you achieve this dream?
Yeah, my parents thought that I could, with proper training, I could probably sing or be a musician. Of course, my parents were both in the academics as well as music area. My father was an advocate, and my mother was a maths professor. So in our home, we had this environment for both music and academics. So they introduced me to all the good things in life. I would say that they gave me uh, good music training, as well as they put me into good schools as far as the academics are concerned, and then they really let me choose what to do in my career. So it was looking back, it was a very balanced view which my parents had, and that really helped me in the both fields, the music as well as academics.
Yeah. And did you ever get to a point in life in your later teenage years where you felt like you had to choose between music and academics, or were you able to successfully study both?
Not in my teens. For quite some time, quite few years, I was doing both things in parallel. That is my academics as well as the music. Uh, Actually, I chose music as my career quite late. That was in 2012 when I was in my 40s. Till that time, I was doing both my academics and a career, professional career, as well as my music in parallel. And a lot of credit also goes to my guru Pandit Bhimsen Joshi. So he was a stalwart, or again a legend in Indian classical music, and I was very fortunate that he accepted me as a disciple in Indian classical music, and he had a very he had a very open mind, I would say, that he encouraged me to continue with both the streams, that is the academics as well as the music, and which was very good of him. Then I was able to do my engineering and my MTech in computer science, and also I had a professional career in computer science for around 17 years in the software technology area, as a technical architect. And at the same time, I was able to pursue music, and was able to give concerts on weekends, because in the weekdays I was working as a software architect. And then in 2011 there was a film called so it was a film on the life of the legendary Balgandharva's life, and in which I gave playback because I was singing that kind of music since childhood. And after that film, really, my time which I had to give to music field really increased a lot. And that's when I actually took the decision that let me try making music as my full-time career. So that was the trigger point for me to take music as a career. So that was in 2012. So past for last 10-12 years now, I'm full-time into music.
Right. Yeah. And I guess it's good that you had a guru that encouraged the academics as well as the arts, because sometimes if you get too much into one, it's like, you're putting all your eggs into one basket. And what if, God forbid, it doesn't work out? And then, especially us being Indian, then your parents might then say, see, we told you should have done the academics. um, I grew up doing Bharat-Natyam. This was more than 10 years ago. And my Bharat-Natyam guru was also very, very strict that all of us in the class focused on our studies as well. And
Oh, okay.
people like that are so good because they give you a good perspective on a good balance on life, that, everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you performed on All India Radio, Doordarshan, and you toured USA when you were only 10 years old, which is
Mhm.
such an amazing feat. How did you find this fame and the attention that you got as a child? Did you get a lot of mentorship and guidance in the industry back then?
Uh, it was very nice to perform on All India Radio and Doordarshan at the age of 10. And as you said, it was like an overnight fame which I got that time. But again, regarding handling of this sort of stardom, I would say my parents were really instrumental uh, in in how to handle this kind of stardom. Uh, so again, looking back, I feel so good that my parents handled the situation so well. They they didn't let my music come in the way of academics or vice versa. So I was, as far as the school was concerned, I was in the high school at that time. I was in sixth or seventh standard. So I, as far as the school was concerned, I was just a normal child, normal student. So my music didn't give me any special privileges in the school, for example. But at the same time, uh, they also encouraged me to uh, continue practicing the music. So my academics didn't come in the way of music as well. So my a lot of credit goes to my parents again, and my two elder sisters at that time. So all the family was so instrumental in letting me handle two things so well.
Yeah, and I guess you were saying, they still continued to focus on your academics. So I guess they made sure that the fame never got to you, or that you weren't spoiled or given special treatment because you were starting to become
Right,
famous. So they
right,
would have
right.
kept you grounded.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice. You've also won the National Film Award for Best Male Playback Singer for the 2011 Marathi movie that you mentioned before about the life of stage actor Balgandharva. What are some of your other career highlights that you're most proud of?
uh, uh, to start with, when I gave performance on the TV at the age of 10, as we said, I was called Anand Gandharva, and that was really a big thing because uh, being called a Gandharva. So Gandharva literally actually means a singer who sings for God in the heaven. That's
Oh,
what the
nice.
term Gandharva means. So there have been a few singers who are called Gandharva over past centuries or decades.
Mm.
And because I was I of course don't consider myself as great as some of the stalwarts who were earlier called Gandharva. But I was following that tradition, so to say, and so being a part of that tradition and being called Gandharva at such a young age was really something very special to me. Uh,
Mm,
of course, at that age, I probably didn't understand the greatness of or gravity of that, and I was just happy that I'm singing. I was always happy to sing and perform, and I was happy that people are liking my music. So that was about it. But looking back now, that was one of the great things to happen to me as a musician, being called a Gandharva at the age of 10. And then later on in the career, I always looked upon Pandit Bhimsen Joshi as my idol, and I always wanted to sing that style of music as far as Indian classical music goes. So when he accepted me as a disciple, that was another great thing to which happened to me, because uh, being able to learn directly from Pandit Bhimsenji himself was really like a dream come true for me. So those two, I would say, were really the highlights.
that's amazing. In the past, Indian culture and a lot of things associated with Indian people was looked down on by the Western world. But in recent years, the appreciation and curiosity has increased to the point where people that are not Indian love listening to Indian music, eating Indian food, taking part in the culture. Have you noticed the same type of trend with the appreciation of classical music?
Yes, absolutely. Non-Indian people are more and more keen to know about Indian music, keen to learn Indian music, and that's really good to know and good to see around. Uh,
Mm,
I have had some occasions where my concerts abroad uh, have the audience, the local audience. So in some European concerts, there were some German people in Germany. I remember. So there were
nice.
German people in the audience, and they were very keen, and they appreciated the music by quite a lot. So yes, it is very heartening to see more and more people getting interested in Indian music.
Mm. One of my colleagues, she's New Zealand born Pakeha,
Mhm.
and that's what we call the New Zealanders. And she, for the last few years, she's been learning Kathak and Odisha.
Mhm.
And she has so much interest in it, and she's always
Mhm.
asking me about it, and I've been to some of his shows, and she's amazing at it. And similar, it's classical Indian dancing, and it's so I think it's so awesome to see people from other cultures taking so much
Right.
interest in it, and then they end up learning more than even us Indian people know sometimes, because
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah,
because they have an extra interest because the whole culture is new to them. Yeah, I
that's
love
right.
seeing that. So on
I think the thing which attracts them is the depth of our culture or our music.
Mhm.
I always feel that Indian music is the music for the soul, uh, and the kind of mental stability or mental peace that it gives is really amazing. It's called greatest stress buster. The music is called stress buster, and
Yes.
especially in the current era, it's there is so much a need to have something for your stress. So maybe
Mm.
that's why Indian music is appealing to more and more people.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. It's probably right. So onto your academic career. You have a BE in electronics and an MTech in computer science from the University of Pune. And you've also worked as a technology architect with Zensar Technologies. Did you face any struggles or negative reactions from family and friends when you decided to pursue a career in singing alongside the academic career? I'm thinking you probably didn't because your family supported both, but was there anyone in your friend circle or in society that gave you any negative reactions when you decided you wanted to pursue both careers?
No, in fact, I was always encouraged by my family and all the people around. When I was doing both the careers, of course, there were times when I had to really manage time well, and
Mm,
because there were time pressures on both the sides. As you know, the software industry is like there is no it's not a fixed 9 to 5 kind of a job. When there are project deliveries, you have to put in extra hours, for example. And similarly in music field, it's not like you just give so much time in the day and you are done. So you have to keep on learning new things constantly. So both the fields are quite demanding in terms of time. So when I was doing both things, I had to deal with quite a bit of time pressure, and that time my family, my wife and my son, so they were understanding because I could give a bit less time to them, and then when I actually wanted to choose music as a career, that time also both of them were quite supportive, and it is only because of their support and their confidence in me that I was able to take this decision really.
mm,
Um, because it is a bit difficult. It is a bit difficult decision to uh, leave a job and leave a job for that matter uh, when you are used to getting the paycheck on the first day of every month, and choose music as an unpredictable field like music as a career. But my wife said to me that music is your passion, and that's what you should do. You should try it out. So that was really that was the support I needed. So my wife and my son, my whole family and the friends,
mm.
they all supported me, and I'm happy that it worked out well in the end.
Yeah, yeah, that's great because I know I can imagine you're going from getting the same paycheck every fortnight or every month, and all of a sudden then you're going into the unknown that you don't know
Mm,
how many shows you'll get, how, and your income is obviously different. The more shows you do,
right.
the more income, the less shows you do, less income.
Right.
So it's a complete change of lifestyle, I guess, and
Mm, mm,
really good to hear that your wife and son supported it because, sometimes you have with big career changes like this, sometimes the family can be the barrier to stop people doing it because of all
mm.
that uncertainty. Now, how do you manage to do riyas when you are traveling? And what does your typical day at home look like?
Mm, uh, uh, there are two kinds of things. One is the riyaz, or the continuous riyaz for the voice that you have to keep on doing every day, which is typically in the morning time. And I try to stick to the schedule as far as that voice riyaz is concerned. Uh, no matter whether when I am traveling or not. And then there is of course riyaz where you try to learn different new things, try to listen to different people, so and practice that, do your own riyaz sessions. So that I managed to do as the time permits. So when I'm traveling, especially, then it may happen on one day, it may not happen on the next day. So I managed to squeeze time for that as much as possible. And when there are too many concerts, we also have to balance the time between the actual concerts and the riyaz, because again, too much riyaz can be harmful for the voice. So there is a slight balancing act when there are too many concerts. So it keeps on changing really.
Hmm. And what precautionary steps did you take during the times of the COVID pandemic?
COVID pandemic was really a testing time for all of us. And as far as the concerts are there, there was a a complete gap for a few months. There were no concerts happening because, understandably, people were more worried about their health and their own livelihood, and the entertainment actually comes later. So it always takes the last priority, really. So the concerts were not happening, but at the same time, it gave uh, a chance for artists like us to do some introvert kind of some internal thinking, you can say, to look into oneself and see how we are going, and what things you have learned up to that time and what you want to learn more, etc. So it was kind of a tricky time. One thing, of course, which helped was the online media, which really has picked up in the last few years. So we had some live sessions on social media platforms like Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, etc. And we had some online concerts as well, although it didn't pick up that much because people want to hear live concerts more than online concerts on any day. But during that lockdown period, that was a good alternative for the artists and the audience to keep in touch with each other and keep in touch with the music. And once that time passed, then we were back to the live shows, and again, both artists and audience were eagerly waiting for the live shows to start.
Yeah, that's very right. I think a lot of singers and DJs and people in the musical industry did that, but it's never the same as actually going to a concert or a show and physically
Right.
sitting there and enjoying it. And that's the thing. So many different professions had to find innovative ways to work during COVID times to keep their job going. Some professions harder than others, of course, and I guess like the arts and theatre would have been one of the harder ones because
Mm.
that's where you can't have people gathering in one room. Um, so, we'd love to know a little bit about your family and your hobbies outside of music and maths and engineering. Can you please share something for our Kiwi listeners?
I like driving, so that's one of my hobbies. Then whenever I travel, I like to enjoy the local food. So I like all types of cuisines. So that's one thing I look forward to when I travel. And what else? Yeah, of course, watching cricket is another hobby which I have from childhood. As maybe all Indian kids have that
Yep.
hobby, right? They are born with it, I would say. And uh, yeah, so these are like my hobbies. I still watch cricket up to some extent. Maybe not as much as I used to watch when I was a kid. Don't have that much time now, but yes, still manage to watch matches whenever I can.
Hmm. You're in New Zealand at the right time because the Australian cricket team is touring New Zealand at the moment. So
That's
you
right.
might
That's
you
right.
might get to watch some of their games if you happen to be in the same city as their game.
Yeah, yeah.
So, what about your family back in India? Tell us a little bit about them, your wife and your son.
My wife is also into music. By academics, she is into commerce. She's a commerce postgraduate. But in the music field also, she has taken a formal training, and she teaches music in school. So she is a music teacher. She loves teaching music, teaching music to children.
Mhm.
So that's what she does. She's a music teacher, and my son now is pursuing. His name is Ashutosh. He is pursuing his engineering currently. So he's in a second year of electronics engineering.
Oh, wow. So he's
And
following in your footsteps.
yeah, yeah. And my sisters, I have two elder sisters. My parents are no more, unfortunately. My two elder sisters, one is in Pune and one is in UK. So they are so she is settled. One of them is settled in UK, and
Nice.
so that's about my family.
Nice. And I love how your wife also pursued an academic career, but also a musical career.
Yeah,
It's like you're both very similar, obviously different academics, but you both must share the same values because
right.
you both have the same importance on academics and musical careers.
Mhm.
Could you please provide any specific tips and suggestions for our um, listeners, if any of them are students that might be learning Hindustani classical music?
Hindustani classical music is, I would say, uh, it's a very good field to be in, and being a student of classical music really gives us that joy and peace of mind. One thing, although, is it's a lot tough or a lot time taking, I would say, because it's such a vast field that musicians put years together in this field, and still they feel that they haven't there are a lot of things to learn more. So students should keep in mind that they should put in the hard work. They should listen to what their gurus are telling them. uh, put the required efforts from their side, and always keep in mind that it's not an overnight thing to even appreciate Indian classical music, let alone
Mm,
sing. But even to appreciate Indian classical music, you have to keep on listening to it for months and years together, because before you really know how to listen to it. Um Although I don't want to discourage people from listening or training in the music field. It's not like you have to put so many years before you can appreciate or take or feel the joy in the music. So that is not required. As a listener, you really can appreciate or feel the joy of Indian classical music without knowing the science of it. So, as a listener, the training or learning the whole science is not required. But for the students, yes, they have to put a lot of effort and the sincerity, basically,
mm.
to learn the music.
And how competitive is the industry in India now, in your experience?
The It's becoming more and more competitive, I would say, uh, but it's like a healthy competition. I mean, when there are more students coming into these fields or more performers performing on the stage, uh, yes, they are competitors in one way. But if you look at it from the other way, you can collaborate. You can learn different things from each other. So it's like a healthy competition, and
Mm.
it's a good thing to happen. I would say.
Mm. And would you recommend like students that are learning and if they're in their, teenage years, would you recommend that they only focus on music or would you recommend that they do similar to what you did where they focus as much as they can on music but also on their academic degree and career?
I would say that getting an academics degree up to a graduation, it is necessary,
Mm.
because as we said, the music is unpredictable field, so you should always have an academic background, and graduation is the minimum degree that you need in case you uh, want to lead the professional life in the academics. Second thing is that uh, when when you uh, when you are when you are taking the academics up to graduation, you also kind of get the maturity, and that really helps in the life, no matter what career you choose. So there are, I always say this to people, because people come to me at a very young age, in school, for example, and the school going children sometimes ask me that I like the music, and I just want to leave the academics and focus only on music. Then I say to them the same thing, that currently you have to pursue both, at least till you become a graduate, and continue both the things. Then you can take chance, or you choose at that point of time, or you can just continue with both things slightly, for few years more, and then wait for the right opportunity in one or the other fields. So keep that flexibility, so that they can decide which path to take, or uh, what what gives them more joy or more pleasure, so that they can decide later. One thing, although, is always try to do what in the field, always try to take the field in which you find enjoyment. That's what I would say. But there can be, for everybody, that point in the career when they want to choose may come at a different point. So wait for the right opportunity, I would say,
Yeah.
but not before the graduation.
That's very good advice. And I think, like you mentioned earlier, if you want to pursue both, it's the best thing to do. Even in my opinion, you should always keep your options open for as long as you can. But then, I guess, then you have the other issue, which you also mentioned earlier, that you have to then be very good at time management. Because if you want to be really good in your academic career, but also in your arts, theatre, music, obviously, everyone only has limited time in one day. So you have to work out your scheduling very well so that you can do both things to the best of your ability.
That's right, and like time management, I would also say the prioritization is also a very important thing, because there are times when you want to devote more time towards academics. For example, the exam times, and then there are few slack hours in the academics when you can uh, give more hours to your art. So at that particular time, which thing to prioritize is also very important.
Yep. Very good advice. So, during or after your current tour, if any student approaches you with a desire to learn HCM, how would you respond to such a request?
I'm at the moment not much into teaching music. I have one or two disciples, but that's about it. I haven't gone to that stream yet, because being a performer and being a teacher or guru are two different kind of streams. It requires different kind of mindset. It requires, uh, again, it requires different kind of dedication. So unless I'm sure that I can dedicate enough time for teaching, there is no point for me to go into that area. So at the moment, I'm not focusing on teaching. But if anybody asks me, I can probably direct them to one of my disciples, and they could actually learn from them.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds really good. So, if anyone is interested, you can reach out. Um, could you please provide any specific tips or suggestions, I guess, in terms of technique or what people should focus on more if they're learning Hindi classical music?
Of course, the voice training is important, and for that, typically when one starts learning classical music, the voice training is like a lower octave kind of training, which we called as mandra saptak riyas, and the uh, Onkar sadhana, or doing riyaz in Akar, Onkar, and this kind of things. So this is also important. But of course, all these things have to be done under the guidance of a a good guru, not by oneself.
Yeah. Well, it's been such a pleasure talking to you today, and I wish you all the best for your upcoming shows. I'm hoping I can meet you when you come to Wellington next week.
Sure.
But it's been a real pleasure talking to you, and thank you so much for putting aside the time for this chat despite your busy schedule at the moment.
Yes, thank you very much. It was a pleasure talking to you and your audience through this podcast. And thanks a lot. And I'm really looking forward to the remaining tour.
Thank you.